We're going to be talking today about investing in real estate through REITs. We're going to look at how many months of inventory we have coming on right now. What's the new interest rate doing to people? We'll also talk a little about the municipal election we had. That's another week in housing on Ryan Out Loud. So the first thing we talk about, a lot of people talk about getting into real estate investing, and it's really scary for a lot of people, especially looking to get into real estate, into the commercial side of investment. And there's a good thing you guys could talk about, and it's a great article about the pros and cons about investing through real estate through a REIT. So there's a lot of public funds for this. I know myself, my wife and I, we invest in commercial real estate as well through our investments that we do. It's another way to get into real estate investment without any risk, not any risk, but as much risk and at a lot less of a threshold for how much capital is going to be required as well for you to get into that. So a great way, Money Sense Magazine, great article they dropped here that you could read into as well. So, last month we looked at this article from Blackburn News and it says increase in real estate listings wanted as temperatures rise. So now we've got an increase of listings. We're seeing a lot more. We looked at the month of April, we saw 4 months of inventory. And then now the month of May, we saw 3 months of inventory. And just for a bit more perspective for people, what that means is 0 to 3 months is a seller's market. 3 to 6 months is a balanced market. And we're seeing that 6 months plus is a buyer's market. So we're seeing right now with that inventory, and we talked about this in our latest market update, is not every home is going into that banana bidding war and seeing prices go over. It's a bit less predictable on what's going to get bidding wars as well. So, if you're a buyer out there, have you noticed a difference? Has it been a bit easier for you to get in the market? And here's a pro tip right now with the more inventory. Say your budget's $400,000, you can't find anything in it. Ask your realtor to look for listings that have been on the market for 30, 60 days now, and maybe they're priced at $410,000, $420,000. There's a possibility that you could maybe negotiate that down as well. So great article here from Blackburn News as well, in the months of inventory and how that affects. So we had our election last night. Conservatives got in, but it was kind of interesting because it was the fewest amount of voter turnout I think they've ever historically seen. I think it was only a 40% voter turnout. So the question is, what's that going to do for housing in the province of Ontario? Are we going to see any changes? Is there going to be any changes to the Landlord-Tenant Act? Is there going to be any changes maybe into the building process? Is that something that's going to filter down into the municipality level of getting building permits and all that great stuff as well? And, it's interesting, so house sales dropped in April. Here's another great article by CREA, that's the Canadian Real Estate Association, and as rates go up, I think the big thing right now people need to realize is this. If you're under maybe 30, you don't know anything else but these cheaper rates. But let's just look at, the history of over the decades of interest rates. In the 70s, the average rate was 8.86. The 80s, 12.7 was the average rate. 90s, 8.12. So from 2000 to 2010, the average rate in North America was 6.2%. And then for the 10s, the average rate was 4.1. So rates aren't too bad right now. If someone's waiting to get in the market because they think the prices might drop a little bit, one thing we can't do is we can't predict where pricing is going to go, but we can predict a bit more, is that most likely rates are going to go up. And if you're waiting to get in the market right now for pricing to go down, if pricing does go down, I can almost guarantee that rates are going to be higher, and the money that you're saving on the house price being lower ain't going to save you any money. Actually, going to cost you more because rates are going to cost more. Your monthly payments could be more than you saved on the house, and your cost of borrowing over the time of that loan, it's going to skyrocket compared to if you just would have gotten to the housing market as well. So a couple things right now too is this fire. I put this article here. It's very sad it happened, but fire safety right now. Especially that we're going to be barbecuing more, having those more bonfires. Make sure your house has working smoke detectors. Check those batteries. Do you have a fire extinguisher where you're cooking food? And just make sure you're using proper safety around the stove, especially with the kids. A simple thing of just turning the handles in. And that's why I put this article here was, it's a sad story, but it's a good reminder of what could happen to your house as well if you're not practicing proper fire safety. So I hope you enjoyed This Week in Housing on Ryan Out Loud. Until next week, folks, and we'll talk to you soon.